The next morning, the sun rose softly over the city, casting golden light through the tall windows of Ryan's mansion. Lily woke up early, her heart still heavy with everything that had happened the night before. She couldn't stop replaying Ryan's words. You. It felt unreal, too beautiful to believe. A man like him, who had everything, had just confessed feelings for her. Someone who once had nothing. She stood by the window, her hands trembling slightly. No, she whispered to herself, it can't be real. People like him don't end up with people like me. Downstairs, Ryan was already in the kitchen making breakfast. When he saw her walking in, barefoot and shy, he smiled softly. Good morning. She nodded quietly, avoiding his gaze. Morning. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, but full of unspoken emotions. Finally, Ryan placed a plate on the table and said gently, I meant what I said last night, Lily. She looked up, her heart racing. Ryan, he stepped closer, his voice calm but full of truth. You've changed everything for me. I used to think love was about grand gestures, about perfection. But you showed me that love is simple. It's kindness, it's care, it's seeing someone's soul. Tears filled her eyes. Ryan, you don't have to say that just because you feel sorry for me. He shook his head. This isn't pity, it's love. I love you, Lily. She covered her mouth with her hands, unable to speak. Her heart pounded in her chest. You can't love me. I'm not good enough for you, she whispered. Ryan took her hands gently. Don't say that. You're good enough and more. You've given me back something money could never buy. Peace. Lily started crying softly, but this time her tears weren't from sadness. They were from relief, from joy, from the feeling of being truly seen. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Ryan smiled warmly. Then just say yes. She looked at him confused. Yes? He nodded. Say yes to a new beginning. With me. For a moment she couldn't breathe. All her life, she had dreamed of being loved for who she was. Not for her looks, not for what she had, but for her heart. And now that dream stood right in front of her. Slowly she smiled through her tears. Yes, Ryan. I'll say yes. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if he never wanted to let go. For the first time in years, both of them felt complete. Days turned into weeks, and life slowly changed for them. Ryan encouraged Lily to start studying again, and she began taking classes in fashion design, something she had once loved but had to abandon when life became hard. He supported her quietly, never treating her like she owed him anything. Instead, he stood beside her as her biggest cheerleader. One afternoon, as she was showing him a sketch of her new dress design, he smiled proudly. You're incredible, Lily. I hope you know that. She laughed. I'm learning from the best. He looked at her, his heart full. No, you're teaching me. You've taught me how to live again. Their love grew stronger each day, not built on luxury or fame, but on understanding, respect, and care. Sometimes they'd walk by the same streets where Ryan had found her months ago. She would stop and look at the bench where she once sat, hopeless and alone. I never thought I'd leave that place, she said softly. Ryan smiled and wrapped his arm around her. And I never thought I'd find love in that place. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset from his balcony, Lily turned to him and asked, Ryan, do you ever regret taking me that night? He looked at her with gentle eyes. Never. That night was the best decision I ever made. Because it led me to you, she smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. And I'm glad you stopped your car, he chuckled softly. Me too. As the sun disappeared behind the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, they sat there, two souls who had once been broken, now whole again through love. The world around them kept moving, but for them, time stood still. Because in that quiet moment, they both knew. Sometimes love doesn't come from perfect beginnings. Sometimes it comes from pain, from loss, from unexpected places. And that night, under the soft glow of the stars, Ryan whispered the words that sealed their hearts forever. Lily, love didn't just find us. It healed us. She smiled with tears in her eyes and whispered back, "Yes, it did." The end. Because true love doesn't always start with perfection, but it always ends with peace. Days passed, and the bond between Ryan and Lily grew stronger. What began as a kind act had slowly turned into something deeper, something neither of them expected. Every morning, Ryan would find Lily in the garden, watering the flowers with a soft smile on her face. She had started wearing simple, clean dresses that he had bought for her, not expensive ones, just enough to make her feel comfortable and confident. The mansion, once silent and cold, now felt alive again. There was laughter, warmth, and the sound of gentle conversations that filled the empty halls. Ryan often watched her quietly, amazed by how easily she brought light into his life. He couldn't understand how someone who had gone through so much pain could still smile so beautifully. Lily, on the other hand, had begun to feel something she never thought she would again. Safety. For years, she had lived with fear, hunger, and loneliness. But now, when she saw Ryan's face, when she heard his voice, that fear disappeared. One morning, as they had breakfast together, Ryan asked softly, "Lily, have you ever thought about what you want to do next?" She looked surprised. "Next?" He nodded. "Yes, you're smart and kind. You deserve more than just staying here. You could study, or maybe start something of your own." Lily smiled faintly. "I've never really thought about that. When you've lived on the streets, your only goal is to survive. But now, I want to live." Ryan's heart warmed at her words. "Then live, Lily. I'll help you with anything you need." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "Why are you so kind to me, Ryan?" He smiled gently. "Maybe because you remind me what kindness feels like." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them disappeared. The sunlight streaming through the window made everything glow. It was as if time had stopped. But Lily quickly looked away, blushing. "We should eat before the food gets cold," she said softly. Ryan chuckled. "Right." Later that day, Ryan took her out for a walk near the city lake. People who once ignored him when he was broken now greeted him with smiles, impressed by the sight of the beautiful young woman beside him. Some whispered, curious about who she was. Lily noticed the looks and whispered nervously, "Ryan, everyone's staring." He smiled reassuringly. "Let them. You belong here just as much as anyone else." Her heart skipped a beat at his words. They sat by the lake, watching the ripples dance across the water. Lily picked up a pebble and tossed it in. "You know," she said softly, "I used to sit by this lake when I had nowhere to go. I would look at the water and tell myself that one day, maybe, I'd have a reason to smile again." Ryan turned to her. "And now?" She smiled faintly. "Now I have that reason." Ryan felt something inside him stir. Something warm, something deep. He didn't say anything, but his hand slowly moved closer to hers. When their fingers touched, Lily froze for a moment, then relaxed. Their hands stayed together, gently intertwined, saying what words couldn't. That night, back at the mansion, Lily couldn't stop thinking about him. She sat by the window, looking out at the city lights, remembering his smile, his touch, his kindness. It scared her how much she cared. "He's a millionaire," she whispered to herself. "And I'm just me." But deep down, she knew that what they shared wasn't about money or status. It was about connection, about two souls finding each other in the most unexpected way. Meanwhile, Ryan sat in his study trying to read but failing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her smile, heard her laughter. He finally admitted to himself what he had been denying. He was falling in love with her. Not because she was different, but because she was real. She didn't care about his wealth, his past, or his mistakes. She cared about him. The next day, something unexpected happened. Ryan received a message from Emma, his ex-fiancée. She wanted to meet. She wrote that she wanted to talk about what happened at the wedding. Ryan felt a mix of anger and confusion. Why now? What did she want? He decided not to hide it from Lily. "Emma wants to meet me," he told her quietly. Lily's face fell slightly. Oh, she said, trying to sound calm. Will you go? Ryan hesitated. I don't know. I don't owe her anything. But maybe it's time I close that chapter properly. Lily nodded slowly. Maybe you should. Sometimes letting go is the only way to move forward. He looked at her for a moment, admiring her maturity. You're right. That evening, Ryan left to meet Emma at a quiet cafe. Lily stayed at home, her heart heavy. She didn't want to feel jealous, but she couldn't help it. The thought of him sitting with his ex made her chest ache. He's free to do what he wants, she whispered to herself, though her voice trembled. She tried to distract herself by cleaning, but tears kept forming in her eyes. Meanwhile, Ryan sat across from Emma. She smiled sweetly, pretending as if nothing had happened. Ryan, she began, I made a mistake leaving you. I see now that no one can love me the way you did. Ryan looked at her calmly. You didn't love me, Emma. You loved what I had. And that's fine. I've moved on. Her smile faded. Moved on? With that? Homeless woman? She said with a mocking tone. Ryan's expression hardened. Her name is Lily, and she's worth more than anything I've ever owned. Emma's eyes widened. You're serious? Ryan stood up, his voice steady but cold. Completely. Goodbye, Emma. He left the cafe without looking back, his heart feeling lighter than it had in years. When he returned home that night, he found Lily sitting in the living room, half asleep on the sofa. She opened her eyes and quickly stood up. You're back, she said softly. How was it? Ryan smiled. It's over, finally. She looked at him, relieved. That's good. He nodded. It is. Because now I know what truly matters. He stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. You! Lily froze, her heart racing. She didn't know what to say, but she didn't need to. The silence between them said everything. Their story, once born from kindness, was slowly turning into something deeper, something neither of them could escape anymore. The night was quiet when they reached Ryan's mansion. The ride back from the wedding had been silent, but it wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was full of thoughts and emotions neither of them could put into words. As the car stopped, Lily took a deep breath and whispered, You didn't have to do that, Ryan. You didn't have to defend me. He turned to her, his eyes calm but full of emotion. Lily, I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I wanted to. No one deserves to be humiliated for being kind. She looked down, her fingers nervously twisting the small heart pendant he had given her. Still, she was your ex. I didn't want to cause you more pain. Ryan smiled faintly. Pain isn't new to me, Lily. But tonight, for the first time in years, it didn't hurt. Maybe because you were there. Lily didn't know what to say. His words touched her deeply. She had seen the way Emma looked at him, the way pride and regret filled her eyes. Yet Ryan stayed calm, not out of revenge, but out of peace. You're stronger than I thought, she said softly. He chuckled. Maybe you helped me remember that. Inside, the house was warm and quiet. Ryan took off his coat and poured 2 cups of tea. Lily sat on the sofa, still wearing the blue dress that made her look like someone out of a dream. The firelight flickered across her face, and Ryan noticed how peaceful yet fragile she looked. He handed her a cup and sat beside her. You know, he began gently, after Emma left me, I stopped believing in love. I thought everyone wanted something from me. My money, my name, my success. No one saw me for who I really was. Lily looked at him with soft eyes. Maybe you just needed someone who looked past all that. He nodded slowly. And I found her sitting on the street on a cold night. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You don't even know me, Ryan. I'm not someone who belongs in your world. I don't have fancy clothes or education or anything. Ryan shook his head, his voice calm but firm. You have more than all of that, Lily. You have heart. You know how to care without expecting something back. That's rare. And it's beautiful. A tear rolled down her cheek. No one's ever said that to me before. Ryan reached out gently and wiped her tear away with his thumb. Then they never really saw you. The warmth in his touch made her heart race. She quickly looked away, embarrassed. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Ryan leaned back, taking a slow breath. You don't have to say anything. Just promise me something. Never let anyone make you feel small again. Lily smiled weakly. I'll try. There was silence for a while, broken only by the soft crackle of the fire. Ryan stared at the flames, lost in thought. You know, he said after a moment, Emma didn't just leave me. She left when my company almost went bankrupt. The moment things got hard, she walked away. I rebuilt everything after she was gone, but I also built a wall around my heart. I told myself I'd never trust anyone again. Lily looked at him sadly. That kind of hurt doesn't go away easily. He nodded. No, it doesn't, but then you came along. And for some reason, the walls I built don't feel so strong anymore. Lily's heart fluttered. She didn't know why, but hearing those words made her chest feel warm. She had spent so long being invisible that she had forgotten what it was like to be seen, to matter. You helped me too, Ryan, she said softly. Before you stopped your car that night, I was ready to give up. I thought life had nothing left for me. But then you showed me that kindness still exists. You reminded me that I still matter. Ryan looked at her, his eyes shining with quiet emotion. Then maybe we saved each other, he said gently. Their eyes met for a long moment. No words. Just two broken souls who somehow found comfort in one another. Later that night, Ryan walked her to her room. Before she went inside, he said softly, Lily, whatever happens next, I want you to know. You're not just someone I helped. You're someone who's helping me heal. Lily smiled through her tears. And you're helping me believe again? For a few seconds, they stood there in silence, the distance between them filled with unspoken feelings. Then Ryan smiled faintly. Good night, Lily. Good night, Ryan, she whispered back. When she closed the door, she leaned against it, her heart racing. She couldn't understand what was happening inside her. It felt both scary and beautiful. In his room, Ryan stood by the window, looking out at the stars. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear. Lily had brought light back into his life. That night, as the city slept, two hearts that had once been broken began to heal quietly under the same roof. Neither of them said the word love yet, but deep inside, both of them knew that something pure and powerful had already begun. The next morning came bright and clear, filled with nervous excitement. Ryan stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie, but his thoughts were far from calm. He hadn't been to a wedding since his own engagement had ended. The idea of seeing Emma again, the woman who had once been his world, made his stomach tighten. But this time he wasn't going alone. Downstairs, Lily waited in her blue dress, her hands shaking slightly. She looked breathtaking, yet her heart pounded with fear. The moment Ryan walked down the stairs, he froze for a second. She looked like a dream, graceful, kind, and radiant. You look unbelievable, he said softly. Lily smiled shyly. I hope I don't embarrass you there. Ryan shook his head. You could never embarrass me. They drove in silence for a while. The city streets looked alive with wedding decorations and music. As the car moved closer to the grand hotel where the ceremony was being held, Lily's anxiety grew. Ryan, she said quietly, what if your ex doesn't like seeing me there? Ryan smiled calmly. She doesn't have to like it. I'm not going there for her anymore. His voice was steady, but his heart told a different story. Part of him still carried the pain of being left behind. But another part was strangely at peace, because of the woman sitting beside him. When they arrived, the place was filled with luxury, flowers everywhere, photographers flashing their cameras, and guests dressed in expensive clothes. As soon as Ryan and Lily stepped out of the car, heads turned. Whispers began immediately. People recognized Ryan, the young millionaire who had once been heartbroken. But now he walked confidently with a mysterious woman by his side. Lily held his arm tightly, trying to hide her trembling. Just breathe, Ryan whispered. You're doing great. She nodded, taking a deep breath as they walked into the hall together. Inside, the wedding looked like a scene from a movie. Golden lights, soft music, and a crowd of smiling guests surrounded the couple at the altar. Emma, dressed in a stunning white gown, turned to greet new guests and froze when she saw Ryan. Her smile vanished for a moment, her eyes widening in disbelief. The man she had left, the one she once said was too serious, too busy, was standing there looking more confident than ever. But what truly caught her attention was the woman beside him, Lily. She didn't recognize her, but something about her presence made Emma uneasy. Ryan walked up politely, offering a calm smile. "Congratulations, Emma," he said smoothly. "You look beautiful." Emma forced a smile, though her voice trembled slightly. "Thank you, Ryan. I didn't expect to see you here, and with company." Her eyes glanced toward Lily, scanning her from head to toe. "This is Lily," Ryan said proudly. "A very special person in my life." Lily smiled softly, her kindness shining through. "It's lovely to meet you," she said gently. But Emma only nodded stiffly. Throughout the event, people couldn't stop whispering about Ryan's guest. Some said she was a model. Others said she looked too simple to be with a millionaire. But Lily didn't let their whispers break her. She focused on Ryan, who kept her close, making sure she felt safe. During dinner, Emma approached their table, holding a glass of wine. "So, Lily," she began, her tone polite but sharp, "how did you two meet?" Lily smiled kindly. "Ryan helped me when I had nowhere else to go. He's a good man." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Oh, really? Helping people now, Ryan? I never knew you liked charity work." The guests around them went silent. Lily's eyes filled with embarrassment, but before she could speak, Ryan's expression hardened. He stood slowly and said clearly, "She's not charity, Emma. She's strength, kindness, and honesty. Everything I forgot existed until I met her." The hall went silent. Even the music seemed to pause. Emma's face turned pale and a few guests whispered in shock. Ryan didn't raise his voice, but his words carried deep power. "You walked away from love because you couldn't see beyond money and comfort. But she reminded me that love doesn't come from luxury. It comes from the heart." Lily looked at him, stunned, her heart beating wildly. She had never seen anyone defend her like that. Emma forced a small laugh, trying to hide her humiliation. "You've changed, Ryan," she said coldly. He smiled faintly. "No, Emma. I've just remembered who I was before I lost myself trying to please someone who never really cared." With that, he took Lily's hand and walked out of the hall, leaving a room full of stunned faces behind. Outside, the cool evening air hit them. Lily's eyes shimmered with tears. "You shouldn't have said that. Now they'll think badly of you." Ryan looked at her softly. "I don't care what they think. I care what's right, and you, Lily, are right, in every way." She tried to speak, but her voice broke. "No one has ever stood up for me like that." Ryan smiled gently. "Then it's about time someone did." They stood there quietly, the sound of music fading behind them, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves. That night, as they drove back, Lily looked out the window, lost in thought. The man beside her wasn't just a millionaire. He was a man with a broken heart, learning how to love again. And maybe, just maybe, that love was beginning to find its way back to both of them. The next morning came with a soft breeze and clear blue skies. The city felt brighter than usual, and inside Ryan's mansion, something had changed too. The air was lighter, filled with quiet excitement. Lily stood nervously near the door, wearing a plain sweater and jeans, still unsure if she had made the right choice. Ryan appeared from upstairs, wearing a gray coat and his usual calm smile. "Ready?" he asked warmly. Lily hesitated, clutching her hands together. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. Ryan gave her a reassuring look. "You'll be fine. Trust me." Those simple words made her nod, though her heart beat faster with fear and curiosity. They drove to a beautiful shopping plaza in the city. Every store window sparkled with expensive clothes and jewelry. Lily had never stepped inside a place like that before. As Ryan opened the door for her, she whispered, "People will stare at me." Ryan smiled gently. "Let them. You have nothing to be ashamed of." When they entered the boutique, a few women looked at Lily and whispered, their eyes filled with judgment. She wanted to turn around and leave, but Ryan stayed beside her the whole time. "Don't listen to them," he said quietly. "You deserve to feel beautiful." A young stylist approached them. "Good morning, Mr. Miller," she said with a bright smile, clearly recognizing him. "How can we help you today?" Ryan looked at Lily. "I want her to find something elegant for a wedding." The stylist's eyes widened, surprised but polite. She led Lily toward a row of stunning dresses. At first, Lily was too nervous to touch them. The silky fabrics looked too perfect, too expensive for someone like her. "I can't wear these," she said softly. "They're not for me," Ryan chuckled. "They're for whoever wears them with confidence. That's all." After some convincing, Lily agreed to try one. The first few didn't feel right, but then the stylist brought a simple, soft blue gown. It wasn't too fancy, but it looked graceful and pure, just like her. She went into the changing room, her heart racing. When she stepped out, Ryan looked up, and for a moment he couldn't speak. The woman standing before him didn't look like the one he met on the street. She looked like someone reborn. The blue dress hugged her gently, her hair fell naturally over her shoulders, and her shy smile lit up the room. "You look perfect," Ryan said softly, almost in awe. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "No one's ever said that to me before," Ryan smiled. "Then I'm glad I'm the first." The stylist added light makeup and helped her with simple jewelry. When Lily saw herself in the mirror, she gasped. She could hardly recognize the woman staring back. For a long time, she had forgotten how it felt to be seen, to feel like she mattered. "This can't be me," she whispered. Ryan stepped closer and said gently, "It's you, Lily. The world just forgot how beautiful you are, including you." She looked at him, her cheeks turning pink. "Thank you, Ryan, for everything." He smiled softly. "You don't owe me thanks. Just promise me one thing." "What?" she asked. "Walk into that wedding tomorrow with your head high. Let them see the real you." They spent the rest of the day preparing. Ryan bought her a pair of silver heels and a small necklace with a heart pendant. "It suits you," he said when she tried it on. They stopped at a salon where Lily's hair was gently styled into soft waves. As she looked at her reflection, she realized this wasn't just about a dress or a makeover. It was about finding her self-worth again. Later that evening, they returned home. Lily stood by the large window, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Ryan came beside her, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Big day tomorrow," he said quietly. She nodded. "I still can't believe I'm going with you. What will people think?" Ryan smiled. "They'll think I brought someone special, and they'll be right." His words made her heart skip a beat. For a few seconds, they both stood in silence, feeling the strange comfort of each other's presence. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the day she met Ryan, cold, lost, and invisible. Now she was standing in a warm house, wearing a beautiful dress, about to walk beside a man who had shown her more kindness than anyone else ever had. She wondered if life could really change this fast, or if it was just a dream that would fade when morning came. But deep inside, she hoped it was real. Ryan, on the other hand, lay awake thinking about Lily. He had met many people in his life, business partners, friends, women who loved his wealth, but no one had touched his heart like she did. There was something pure and gentle about her that reminded him what love truly meant. He didn't fully understand his feelings yet, but he knew one thing. Taking her to the wedding wasn't about showing off or revenge. It was about giving both of them a chance to start over. As midnight approached, he whispered to himself, "Tomorrow, I'll show them what real beauty looks like. Not the kind you buy, but the kind that shines from within." And somewhere upstairs, Lily whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. Neither of them knew it yet, but the next day would change everything, not just for them, but for everyone who saw them walk into that wedding together. The morning sunlight touched the large glass windows of Ryan's mansion, filling the room with a soft golden glow. Lily slowly opened her eyes, feeling warm for the first time in months. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The bed was soft, the air smelled clean, and her heart felt strangely calm. Then she remembered everything. The kind man who stopped for her, the dinner, his gentle voice, and his eyes that carried hidden sadness. She sat up quickly, afraid she had slept too long. She didn't want to cause trouble for the man who had helped her. As she stood up and looked around, she saw fresh clothes folded neatly on a chair with a small note that said, "Breakfast is in the kitchen. You're safe here, Ryan." Downstairs, Ryan was already sitting at the dining table with a cup of coffee, lost in thought. He didn't notice Lily walking in until he heard her quiet footsteps. She looked nervous, her eyes lowered as she whispered, "Good morning. I hope I'm not disturbing you." Ryan smiled kindly. "You're not disturbing me. You're my guest." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit down. You should eat something." On the table were eggs, toast, and orange juice. Simple food, but for Lily it felt like a feast. She sat down slowly, still unsure if she belonged there. "You really didn't have to do all this," she said softly. "I'm not used to people helping me without wanting something in return." Ryan's smile faded a little. Not everyone helps because they want something. Sometimes they help because they've been through the same emptiness. Lily looked at him curiously. "You? But you're rich. You have everything." Ryan laughed quietly, but his laughter didn't reach his eyes. "Money can buy many things, but not happiness. I had someone once, someone I thought would stay forever. But she left when I needed her the most." Lily could see the pain hidden in his expression. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "People can be cruel." Ryan nodded. "They can, but sometimes life sends someone new to remind you that kindness still exists." Their eyes met for a moment, and Lily quickly looked away, feeling shy. After breakfast, Lily asked if she could help clean or do something to repay him. Ryan chuckled. "You're my guest, not my maid." But she insisted, so he finally let her help water the garden outside. She walked barefoot on the grass, feeling its cool touch. For the first time in years, she felt alive again. Ryan watched her from the balcony. She looked peaceful, smiling softly at the flowers, her messy hair shining in the sunlight. He didn't know why, but just seeing her brought warmth to his heart. Later that day, Ryan had a business meeting. Before leaving, he told her, "You can stay here as long as you need. There's food in the fridge. Don't worry about anything." She nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. When he left, Lily wandered through the mansion. Every corner looked perfect. Expensive paintings, shining floors, beautiful furniture. But it all felt empty, like a house without a soul. She realized Ryan might have money but no real happiness. Maybe that's why he had helped her, because her brokenness reflected his own. That evening, Ryan returned home. He found Lily sitting by the fireplace, reading a book she had found on the shelf. She looked peaceful, her face glowing in the light. "You like reading?" he asked. She smiled shyly. "I used to read a lot before life changed." He nodded and sat beside her. For a moment, there was silence, only the sound of fire crackling. Then Ryan spoke. "Tomorrow is my ex-fiancé's wedding." Lily looked at him surprised. "Are you going?" He sighed. "I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't." She thought for a moment and said gently, "Sometimes facing the past helps you move on." Ryan smiled at her words. "Maybe you're right." "But I don't want to go alone." She laughed softly. "You have so many friends, don't you?" Ryan shook his head. "Friends who love my money, not me." Then, after a short pause, he looked at her and said, "What if you come with me?" Lily's eyes widened. "Me? To a wedding? I can't. Look at me." He smiled. "I am looking at you, and I see someone strong and kind. You'd surprise everyone." She shook her head quickly. "I have nothing to wear. I don't belong in that kind of world." Ryan leaned back, his smile gentle but firm. "You belong wherever your heart is true. Let me show you that." Lily was speechless. She wanted to refuse, but something inside her said maybe this was meant to happen. Maybe this was her chance to feel alive again. Ryan stood up and said, "Tomorrow morning we'll go shopping." "No arguments," She laughed nervously but nodded. All right, but only if you let me pay you back one day. Ryan looked at her kindly. You already have. You made me smile again. That night, as Ryan went to bed, he couldn't stop thinking about her. The woman who came into his life from nowhere, yet made his lonely house feel warm again. And upstairs, Lily looked at herself in the mirror, wondering why this stranger's kindness touched her so deeply. She didn't know it yet, but this simple invitation would change not only her life, but his too. Both broken hearts were about to take the first step toward something they never expected: love. It was a cold winter night in the busy city of New York. Streetlights flickered as snowflakes danced through the air, falling softly on empty roads. Ryan Miller, a young and successful millionaire, drove his shiny black car through the quiet streets. His face looked calm, but inside his heart was heavy. Tomorrow was the day he had been trying to forget for months. His ex-fiancée Emma's wedding. She was the woman he once loved more than his own life, the one who left him for another man when he lost faith in love. Even with all his money, success, and fame, Ryan felt empty. He had everything except peace. His heart still carried the pain of betrayal that time could not erase. As he stopped at a red light near an old coffee shop, his eyes caught something unusual. A woman sitting by the roadside, hugging her knees, shivering in the cold. Her clothes were torn, her hair messy, and her face pale, but her eyes were full of pain and something pure that caught his attention. She looked like someone who had lost everything, but still held on to a tiny piece of hope. Ryan's heart softened. He rolled down the window and said gently, "Hey, are you okay?" The woman looked up slowly, confused, as if she couldn't believe someone was talking to her. Her voice was weak. "I'm fine," she whispered, though her trembling hands told a different story. Ryan parked his car and stepped out, the freezing air biting his face. "You don't look fine," he said softly. "Do you need food or somewhere warm to stay?" She stared at him suspiciously, unsure whether to trust him. People rarely stopped for someone like her. "Why do you care?" she asked in a shaky voice. Ryan smiled faintly. "Because I know what it's like to be left in the cold." He didn't mean the weather. He meant life. After a pause, she sighed. "I haven't eaten all day," she admitted, her voice breaking. Ryan took off his jacket and gently placed it on her shoulders. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you something to eat." She hesitated, but finally stood up. Her name was Lily. She had been living on the streets for months after losing her job and her small apartment. Life had been cruel, and every day felt like a battle to survive. As she sat in his warm car, she looked around nervously. Everything smelled clean and expensive. "Why are you helping me?" she asked again, still unsure of his kindness. Ryan smiled as he started the car. "Because sometimes helping someone else helps you too." Lily didn't understand what he meant, but something in his tone felt real. He drove her to a small restaurant that stayed open late. When the waiter saw Lily's torn clothes, he frowned, but Ryan gave him a firm look, and the waiter walked away silently. He ordered warm soup and bread for her. Lily ate slowly at first, embarrassed, but soon hunger took over. Ryan watched her quietly, feeling something in his heart shift, something he hadn't felt in a long time. She wasn't just another stranger. She reminded him of the part of himself he had lost, the kind, hopeful man he used to be before his heart turned cold. When they left the restaurant, Ryan asked, "Do you have anywhere to go?" Lily shook her head. "I usually sleep near the subway station," she said softly. Ryan frowned. "That's no place for anyone to stay, especially in this weather." She looked at him, afraid he might pity her. "I'm used to it," she whispered. "Don't feel sorry for me." Ryan shook his head gently. "It's not pity. It's humanity." He offered to let her stay in one of the guest rooms at his house for the night. Lily's eyes widened in disbelief. "Your house? I can't. I don't belong there," she said quickly. Ryan smiled. "You belong somewhere safe tonight. That's enough." After a few moments of silence, she nodded. When they reached his mansion, Lily's eyes widened. The place looked like something out of a dream. Tall glass walls, glowing lights, and a peaceful garden. She followed him inside carefully, afraid to touch anything. Ryan led her to the guest room, where a warm bed and soft blankets waited. "You can sleep here," he said kindly. "No one will bother you." Tears filled her eyes. It had been years since anyone showed her this kind of care. "Why are you so kind to me?" she asked again, her voice breaking. Ryan looked away for a moment. "Maybe because I once needed someone to be kind to me too, but no one was." That answer touched her heart. She nodded slowly, whispering, "Thank you." Later that night, as Ryan sat alone in his living room staring at the fireplace, he thought about how strange life could be. He had spent years surrounded by wealth, power, and fake smiles, yet tonight, helping a stranger felt more real than anything he had done in years. Upstairs, Lily lay in the warm bed, unable to sleep. She thought about the man who had stopped for her, a man who didn't know her name yet treated her with respect. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Both of them were broken in different ways, but destiny had quietly brought them together on a cold winter night. As the clock struck midnight, Ryan looked out the window at the falling snow. His heart still carried pain from the past, but somewhere inside, a tiny spark of hope began to glow again. He didn't know why he had stopped for Lily, but deep down, he felt it wasn't just kindness. It was something else. Something that fate had planned. He whispered to himself, maybe this is how love finds its way back. And at that very moment, upstairs, Lily looked out the window too, watching the same snowfall, both unaware that their lives had just changed forever.